Welcome people to Real Stories UK. This is a story about the cold-hearted murder of Ashley Dale. The 28-year-old woman was shot deliberately and mercilessly by a man who entered her home intent on killing. The trial of 5 alleged gang members for murder has been heard. Ashley Dale was shot dead in the early hours of Sunday the 21st of August 2022 by a gang member who was in dispute with her boyfriend, Lee Harrison, Liverpool Crown Court heard. Harrison was not at Dale's home on Leinster Road in Old Swan, Liverpool, when a man kicked in the front door armed with a Skorpion submachine gun and fired more than a dozen bullets, one of which hit Dale in the abdomen, causing catastrophic damage. She died shortly afterwards in a yard behind her house after police were unable to resuscitate her.
Hello, it's the police. If there's anyone here, make yourself known!
Officers with taser.
Back door's open.
Is it?
Yeah.
Chris, you've got taser on to the lead, mate. I'm gonna walk through. Fortunately, I'm not my refresher.
Back door is open.
Okay. Please. Go check the back. What's the report? Is that
last patrol on their own?
So I'm so sorry to report that over the course of the weekend at around midnight on the early hours of Sunday morning, police were called to Leinster Road, reported for shooting. At that location we found that the property had been forcefully entered, multiple shots had been fired, and a young lady who we now know to be Ashley Dale had been shot and fatally wounded. And unfortunately, despite the best efforts of Merseyside Police and the North West Ambulance Service, she succumbed to those injuries. We are supporting her family at this incredibly difficult time. Ashley was a lovely young woman with a career in front of her, worked for Knowsley Council and had recently graduated and had a promotion at work. She was in her own home and should have been safe at that time. The people responsible for this attack are subject to our investigation, and we need to do everything we can to identify who they are. They have no place in our society or our communities. They had no regard for Ashley or the law or the community, and I appeal to anyone with any information whatsoever or evidence around this to come forward, contact us directly, Crime Stoppers, or through our major incident portal on the website.
The prosecutor Paul Greeny, KC, said the attack was orchestrated by a gang made up of the defendants Joseph Pearce, Sean Zeisz, Niall Barry, James Witham and Ian Fitzgibbon. He said Niall Barry, Sean Zeisz and Ian Fitzgibbon dispatched Joseph Pearce and James Witham armed with a Skorpion submachine gun to kill Lee Harrison at his home and to deal with anyone that got in their way and leave behind no witnesses. Greeny added, when Ashley Dale saw James Witham, she screamed and shouted, "Get the fuck out," and attempted to run for her life. She fled, pursued by James Witham, into the dining room in a desperate attempt to reach the back door. As she did, so James Witham opened fire with the submachine gun. Witham moved through the house firing shots that were left embedded in the walls and floors of the hallway, dining room and the kitchen of Dale's home. Greeny said James Witham then walked upstairs into a bedroom where he fired 5 more shots into the wall. He did that, the prosecution suggests, to send a firm message to Lee Harrison. That message was that he, Lee Harrison, had been the principal target of the attack and he too should be dead, along with his girlfriend Ashley, while it was Witham who pulled the trigger, which the defendant admitted when pleading guilty to a manslaughter charge. Greeny said it was an attack planned by his co-defendants, who were all charged with murder. Ashley also lost her younger brother to gun crime back in 2015. Her brother, Lewis Dunn, was shot dead at just 16 years old in November 2015 by drug dealers who had mistaken him for a rival. Her younger brother Lewis was found bleeding heavily on a canal towpath in Liverpool, also on a Sunday night. Witnesses described the gang arriving earlier at the scene on quad bikes and appeared to be meeting another group for a fight. Brothers Paul, John Martin and their accomplice Jake Colshaw mistook Lewis for a man they were trying to attack because he has similar curly hair. The trio was sentenced to 88 years between them in 2016. The jury saw messages written by Dale, a council worker, about a month before her murder, in which she described terrible anxiety over fears Barry would come to her house as part of a feud he had with her boyfriend Harrison. She also told a friend she felt unable to go to another friend's wake because of rising tensions between Barry and Harrison, which had pulled in other friends from either side of the row. A message written by Dale, shown to the jury, read, "I just have a bad feeling about everything. It's horrible. My heart's in my mouth constantly. Messages from less than a fortnight before her death showed that Dale did attend the wake but was escorted inside by a friend, and she felt unsafe entering alone. Hearing that Barry was also in attendance, Dale's death was one of 3 fatal shootings in Liverpool in 1 week in August 2022, including that of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Corbell, who was murdered in her own home by a drug dealer named Thomas Cashman. The 5 defendants deny murdering Ashley Dale and also deny conspiracy to murder Harrison and conspiracy to possess a prohibited weapon, a Skorpion submachine gun and ammunition. A 6th defendant, Callum Radford, denies assisting an offender. The crazy thing is that Lee Harrison and Niall Barry were actually once good friends, but as we see so often in these situations, when there's drugs and large amounts of money involved, friendships quickly turn sour. Joseph Pearce and James Witham checked into a hotel in St Helens, where they spent 1 day taking advantage of the spa facilities before getting a taxi to Scotland, where they stayed until the 13th of September, which is when they made their journey back to Liverpool. This is when police received intelligence that both of the men were travelling back to Liverpool in an Audi Q7, and they were pulled over by armed police.
Alright lads, keep your hands where you can see him. Just keep your hands where you can see him, pal. I'll put you in some handcuffs. Yeah, one about that side, just need driver out that side. Yeah, no bother. Just open door for us, mate, until we confirm your identity. We'll put you in handcuffs. What's your name, fella? Eh? Joseph. Tom's just getting driver out and then all 3 will be secure. Arrest on suspicion of murder, okay? You don't have to say anything. I am in defence, you don't mention one question. Some people you later rely in court, and anything you do say may be given evidence. Understand that?
Suspicion of murder. Suspicion of murder.
Hello mate, how are you doing?
Just going to put you in cuffs, mate, alright. What's your name, fella?
Francis.
Say that again.
Francis Kelly.
Gary.
Francis.
Gary Francis.
Francis Kelly.
Francis Gary.
Francis
Right.
Kelly.
Carrie.
Kelly.
Kelly, it's alright. My ears, your. Right, we'll walk over here, fella. You got anything on you shouldn't? No. Anything in the vehicle that you shouldn't be? Yeah, James? Right, okay, you're under arrest for a suspicion of murder. Alright, you don't have to say anything. You may have your defence, you don't mention one question, something which will let in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. Alright?
Hey, Joe.
Whatever time was now, yeah. Come on, we'll come over here, we'll sit behind my vehicle. It's confirmed that he is James.
On the night of the 21st of August, Ashley was at home, but she wasn't feeling herself due to the issues with her boyfriend Lee Harrison and now Barry. Niall had threatened to come to the house previously. Ashley was clearly on edge that night, and when her car alarm randomly went off, she had no idea that this had been done deliberately and that her life would soon end. At 11:40 PM, Miss Dale sent a message to her partner, Mr. Harrison, saying that her car alarm was going off. He replied just after 20 minutes later, saying, "Haha, you think you're in a horror movie? Are you okay? Alive?" At 12:07 AM, less than half an hour before Miss Dale was shot, she replied as a joke, "No, I'm dead." The jury was told data from Miss Dale's phone showed that at 12:32 AM, she moved 5 steps. Phone records show she called Mr. Harrison at 12:33 AM, but he did not answer, and she left a 1 minute and 43 second voicemail. CCTV showed the Hyundai car used in the shooting drove onto Miss Dale's road at 12:30 AM and left the road 2 minutes and 36 seconds later. Alex Langhorne, prosecuting, said Miss Dale had been hit in the abdomen by a bullet which passed through her liver and into the right chamber of her heart. She was pronounced dead at hospital at 1:48 a.m. Following a 7-week trial at Liverpool Crown Court, a jury found James Witham, Sean Zeisz, Niall Barry and Joseph Pearce guilty of the murder of 28-year-old Ashley Dale, who was fatally shot in her home in Leinster Road on August the 21st, 2022.
At 11:40 p.m. on the 20th of August last year, a Hyundai car drove into Leinster Road in Old Swan, Liverpool. Inside were two men, James Witham and Joseph Pearce. They drove there as a result of a criminal agreement with Niall Barry and Sean Zeisz to kill the occupants of 40 Leinster Road using a Skorpion submachine gun. They each knew that Lee Harrison lived there with his partner, Ashley Dale. It was their home. The car had been acquired in the days leading up to what happened, with false number plates ready to use when the hiding of the car followed. In an attempt to bring the occupants out of the house, Witham and Pearce stabbed the car tyres of the car parked outside. That set off the car alarm. Inside the house was Ashley Dale in her pyjamas watching television. When she heard the alarm, she believed it was caused by heavy rain, and so she stayed inside. Outside, Witham and Pearce waited for their moment for this planned killing. What followed was a murder of such seriousness that it has shocked both the local community and many in this country. The use of a military-grade submachine gun to kill a young woman in her own home at night in a planned shooting of the occupants of that house is beyond any understanding. At just after midnight, Witham got out of the Hyundai car, wearing a balaclava to hide his face. He carried that Skorpion submachine gun, loaded with 15 bullets. He broke through the locked front door, walked into the dining room. Ashley was in that room alone, moving towards the kitchen back door to escape, and there were lights on so that she was visible. Witham wickedly fired 10 bullets towards her as she was vulnerable and defenceless. One of those bullets passed through her abdomen and killed her. Her screams were heard by neighbours. Leaving her to die, Witham went upstairs looking for Lee Harrison. In a bedroom, he fired a further 5 bullets into the wall as a clear statement that if he had been in the house, he would have been killed also. After the shooting, Witham and Pearce drove away. The car was parked elsewhere, out of view, and later that day to be hidden on the driveway of a property in St Helens. A week later, it was driven by Pearce and Zeisz to be hidden on another driveway in St Helens, until it was discovered by the police on the 9th of October. Ashley Dale died very shortly after she was shot. Lee Harrison has refused to cooperate in the police investigation into her murder. So involved with criminal drug-dealing gangs is he. For the family of Ashley Dale, this must have been a cruel twist to the tragic loss of their daughter and sister. Not only was she brutally killed in her own home, but Lee Harrison has refused to assist the police to bring her killers to justice. Stand up. I sentence each of you to imprisonment for life on count 1 for the murder of Ashley Dale. Niall Barry, on count 1, murder. Your minimum term is increased to 35 years, but must be further increased to reflect your offending in counts 2, 3, and in the second indictment. Your minimum term is 47 years, less 433 days served on remand. James Witham, on count 1, murder. Your minimum term is also increased to 35 years, but must be further increased to reflect your offending on counts 2 and 3. Your minimum term is 43 years, less 295 days served on remand. Joseph Pearce, on count 1, murder, your minimum term is increased to 33 years, but must be further increased to reflect your offending in counts 2 and 3. Your minimum term is 41 years, less 295 days served on remand. Sean Zeisz, on count 1, murder, your minimum term is increased to 32 years, but must be further increased to reflect your offending in counts 2 and 3 and the second indictment. Your minimum term is 42 years, less 448 days served on remand. On count 2, conspiracy to murder, I impose a concurrent sentence of imprisonment for life on each of you, with a minimum term of 18 years custody. On count 3, conspiracy to possess a prohibited firearm and ammunition with intent to endanger life, I impose a concurrent sentence of 14 years imprisonment on each of you. The sentences on the second indictment of 30 years imprisonment for you, Barry, and 10 years for you, Zeisz, will also be served concurrently. You will each be required to pay the statutory charge, but in your cases, Zeisz and Barry, I postpone the making of the order until the conclusion of the confiscation proceedings under the Proceeds of Crime Act 2002. In your cases, Pearce and Witham, I make the surcharge order now, which will be in the appropriate amount and set out in the court order. Take them down.
Senior Investigating Officer, Detective Chief Inspector Kath Cummins said, today, Joseph Pearce, James Witham, Niall Barry and Sean Zeisz have been jailed for life for the brutal and senseless murder of Ashley Dale in her own home on Sunday the 21st of August 2022. That night, Ashley was in the safest place she thought she could be, which was her home. We heard how a long-standing feud was reignited by events at Glastonbury in the summer of 2022, which was turbocharged by the death of a man named Ricky Warnick. A group came together to seek revenge for long-standing drugs disputes. The prosecution did not have to prove a motive, but in this case, the motive was identified and went on to unlock the truth of this case. As James Witham stormed into Ashley's home that night, wearing a balaclava, firing from a Skorpion submachine gun, he took away Ashley's life. An ambitious, bubbly, charismatic young woman. The community was rocked and her family and friends were left devastated. The investigation resulted in securing some answers for the family, but it will never take away their pain. Their lives have been shattered beyond belief. Let today be a clear message that Merseyside Police and the communities of Merseyside will not tolerate the actions of those who are intent on destroying lives. Together, we will be relentless in identifying those who carry or use firearms, ensuring those individuals or groups are removed from our streets. I would like to thank the Crown Prosecution Service, in particular Paul Greeny, KC, Alex Langhorne and Holly Menery for the successful prosecution of this case. I would also like to thank all the officers and staff from across all strands of Merseyside Police who are involved in the case, including the detectives who supported the major crime unit from across the country. But more importantly, I would like to thank the family for their immense courage and the composure displayed throughout the trial, as they have had to relive the horrific events of August the 21st, 2022. While they will never get over losing their Ashley following today's result, I and the rest of the team hope they will find some comfort in the knowledge of knowing that those responsible will spend the rest of their lives behind bars. When passing sentencing, Justice Goose said, "I commend the officers for the work that has been done during this trial and the support shown to the family. I know you have been supported by many other officers. I have been struck by the dignity you have shown as a family and the way you expressed yourselves in the victim's personal statements. It was truly remarkable." Ashley's mum has devoted her time to making sure people know Ashley's story and how much of a loving and caring person she really was to her friends, family and younger sisters. For the younger people who might watch this video, I hope you see stories like this and think twice before getting involved in certain lifestyles. It might seem attractive at first, but it never ends well. Friends turn on you, you constantly have to look over your shoulder, and the risk of ending up in prison or ending up in a grave is more than likely, and there's always another way. Thanks for watching, people. Please like, share, comment, subscribe and stay tuned for more content from Real Stories UK.